The Red Sea, a critical maritime corridor, has become a hotbed of conflict as the US military intensifies its attacks on Iranian-backed forces in a decisive response to persistent threats against us and UK naval forces and merchant vessels. The US has targeted facilities operated by militia linked to Iran in Iraq and Yemen. This action underscores the growing tensions in the Middle East and the complexity of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war in Iraq. Attacks targeting facilities used by the Qatari Hezbollah militia and other Iranian-linked groups underscore the US commitment to protecting its forces from increased attacks. Simultaneously, US Central Command's actions against two Houthi anti-ship missiles in Yemen demonstrate a strategic effort to protect vital international shipping lanes in the Red Sea. Strikes in both Iraq and Yemen targeted areas that the US says are involved in attacks against us, forces in Iraq and Syria, and threaten us. Military and commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin Tuesday that the strikes in Iraq were ordered by President Joe Biden and targeted facilities used by the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia group and other Iran-linked groups in Iraq. These precision strikes are in direct response to a growing series of attacks by Iranian-backed militia against us and coalition personnel in Iraq and Syria. Austin said the strikes hit militia facilities in Jef al-Zahad, south of Baghdad, Alim, and another unnamed area in western Iraq. Two U.S. officials said late Tuesday, U.S. Central Command announced that two Houthi anti-ship missiles targeting the southern Red Sea and preparing for launch had also been hit as forces detected the missiles in Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen and determined that they posed an imminent threat to commercial vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the region, Central Command said. Both fronts' ground strikes in Iraq and Syria and naval strikes from Yemen have seen a significant increase in launches and counter-strikes over the past few days. In Iraq, strikes on Houthi sites came hours after the U.S. said militants fired two Awani attack aircraft at Asad Air Base, injuring us service members and damaging infrastructure. And they followed the militia's most serious attack on the airbase this year, launching multiple ballistic missiles on Saturday, as Central Command said it targeted the Qatari Hezbollah headquarters, warehouses and training sites for rocket, missile and one-way strike drone capabilities in the drone strikes against Assad on Tuesday. Plus, defenses managed to intercept the first drone, but it crashed into the base, and the drone also crashed into the base. Officials said injuries were reportedly minor, including traumatic brain injuries and smoke inhalation. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity to provide details that have not been made public. Tuesday strikes on Houthi missile launch sites in Yemen followed a joint operation on Monday night in which the United States and Britain used warship and submarine launched Tomahawk missiles and fighter jets to destroy Houthi missile storage sites, drones and launches, according to a U.S. official. Iraq and Syria have been attacked at least 151 times since the attacks began on October 17th, 10 days after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. While officials have not directly linked the two situations, the ongoing attacks continue attacks on us forces, especially in Yemen, coupled with attacks on merchant ships by the Iranian-backed Houthis have fed concerns about the outbreak of wider conflict in the region and heightened tensions. These developments raise two important questions. How will the United States continue to navigate the complex balance of military action and diplomacy in the region, particularly as it manages the threats posed by Iranian-backed militia in Iraq and Yemen? What are the implications of these increased military engagements for broader regional stability, especially given strategic importance of the Red Sea for global trade and security? Tuesday's attacks also follow multiple strikes against the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen over the past week and a half, at a time when the United States has sought to rein in the aggressive actions of Iranian-backed groups in the Middle East amid rising tensions in the region. While strikes continue in Iraq and Syria, the United States is also leading regular Houthi attacks on merchant ships in Yemen. Tuesday's strikes follow Monday's strikes by the US and Britain against the Houthis, which a senior official said were successful in hitting weapons depot drone systems and missiles. They were the 8th and 9th waves of military strikes against the Houthis in about 10 days. Meanwhile, Western officials and advisors say Iran is sending increasingly sophisticated weapons to its Houthi allies in Yemen, increasing their ability to attack merchant ships and disrupt international trade. Despite weeks of US-led airstrikes, these officials and analysts say the Houthis, once derided as Arab militia operating in Yemen's arid countryside, have emerged as one of Iran's most capable proxies because of the flow of weapons from Tehran and the ingenuity they have developed within their ranks. Iran has allegedly supplied that's Houthis with drone jammers and long-range rocket and missile components. Among other high-end equipment, the Iranians and their Lebanese Hezbollah allies have allegedly sent advisors to Yemen to help the Houthi plan and launch their attacks, missile and drone attacks on merchant ships and warships, which the Houthis say came in retaliation for Israel's war against Hamas, have prompted 2 weeks of American and British counterattacks. These in turn risk drawing Washington into a long-running tit-for-tat military campaign. Escalating the US-Iran proxy war while the Houthis, this are under pressure from US strikes. Western officials see signs of military adaptation and say new technology could increase the effectiveness of Houthi attacks on ships in Israeli territory on January 11th, the day before the first Western counter-strike Navy SEALs intercepted a ship loaded with the latest Iranian military technology. Western officials and advisors claimed these include assembly kits for the Qaeda, an Iranian anti-ship rocket with a range of more than 200 mi. That the Houthi have not previously used engine nozzles for the Typhoon, a ballistic missile recently introduced by the group that could more effectively target Israel, and optical extensions designed to improve the accuracy of drone strikes. 3 days earlier, Omani authorities had also seized jammers that Western officials and advisors claimed also came from Iran. In addition to weapons, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its Lebanese ally Hezbollah have allegedly sent advisors to Yemen to help the group launch naval strikes and launch rockets and drones, according to Western security advisors. An official, they said Tehran had contracted smugglers to bring the weapons from Iran to Yemen and middlemen to buy spare parts through front companies. Security advisors and officials said engineers in Yemen and other countries in the region helped assemble and operate missiles and drones, and maritime industry workers provided live intelligence on which ships to target Iran's alleged growing military assistance to the Houthis prompted Washington to complain to TAN through Switzerland. Iran is a supply to the Houthis and has provided equipment, training and expertise to other proxy organizations in the region, said a senior US defense official in a statement. We have communicated that we consider this activity unacceptable. A spokesperson for the Iranian delegation to the United Nations in New York did not respond to a request for coming Iran's assistance to the House. This is led by some of the Revolutionary Guard's most elite officers. Western advisors and officials said the head of Tehran's operations in the country is Raza Shahai, who once oversaw attacks on US troops in Iraq. He is currently wanted by Washington with a $15 million award. Western security advisors and officials said the transfer of ballistic missile technology training was overseen by Unit 34Z, which allegedly trains Houthi personnel in Iran and Lebanon, and is headed by Hamed Fazili, the former head of Iran's space rocket program. Western and regional security officials previously claimed that Iran's paramilitary forces are providing the Houthis in Yemen with real-time intelligence and weapons, including drones and missiles, that the rebels then use to target ships transiting the Red Sea. Iran maintains that it has nothing to do with Houthi operations and that group's actions are motivated solely by anger over the war in Gaza. The resistance has its own tools and acts according to its own decisions and capabilities, Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri said in December. United States and its allies have been bombing missile launch sites and weapons Depot in Yemen to erode the Houthi arsenal and patrolling waters to disrupt the flow of weapons. To the Houthis, this includes the January 11 operation in which the latest Iranian-made missile parts sent to Houthi rebels in Yemen were intercepted and 2 Navy SEALs were lost at sea. But the Houthis and their alleged Iranian allies are trying to adapt to the pressure following the relocation of American warships to the Red Sea. Yemeni rebels have and they're a direct response to Iranian influence in the region. Meanwhile, operations against Houthi rebels in Yemen, known for disrupting maritime traffic, aim to reduce risks to vital shipping routes. Understanding and addressing these changes is vital in a region where the balance of power remains delicate with potential global repercussions. Thank you for following us.